So this is a little video on how to find a linear equation given a table. So we've studied, the y equals mx plus b form, or the slope intercept, and that's the y-intercept. So what we're going to do is we're going to look and kind of dissect how do you kind of get that information from a table. So first off, slope is the change in y over the change in x. So I'm going to look at my y values, and I'm going to see, here they go up by 2, by 2, by 2, and here on the x it's going up by 1, by 1, by 1. Okay, and we can see that it's kind of going up 1, 2, 3, so that makes it easy, but it doesn't matter. We'll have the same slope regardless of which 2 points I pick. So the change in y is 2 over the change in x, which is 1, or we could simplify that fraction to 2. The y-intercept. So the y-intercept is the point on the graph. So if you look at a graph, and you have your, so the y-intercept is the point that crosses, this is the x-intercept, the point that crosses the x-axis, and this is the y-intercept, the point that crosses the y-axis. And so, for example, if this was here, this would be the point like 0, 1. So it's the place, these are not the same graphs, just so you know. But it's the point where x is equal to 0. Okay, so by definition, the y-intercept is the place where x is equal to 0. And so if you look at your table, you can see, look, wow, here's an x is equal to 0, so that value right there is actually my y-intercept. So the 3. Now, plugging this information into our slope-intercept form, we have y equals, the slope was 2, x plus, and the y-intercept is 3. Okay, so that's the equation for that line from that equation, from that table. So let's look at another example. So once again, I can look, and so notice how I didn't go up by ones here, so I go up by different numbers, but let's just check. So from 4 to negative 5, that's a change in minus 9, and the x value went up 3. So if I look at that change in y, which is negative 9, over change in x, which is 3, I get negative 3 as my value. But I could have picked any point. Doesn't matter. So let's pick even from, from 4 to 5, that went up 1 in the x, and it went down minus 3 in the y. Once again, it's change in y, so negative 3, change in y over change in x, positive 1. Once again, that simplifies to negative 3. So the slope is negative 3. It doesn't matter which 2 points you pick, you will get the same thing for a linear equation because they have a constant slope, or the same slope throughout. Y-intercept. Once again, y-intercept is a place, sorry, it's kind of hard to see that, where x equals 0, but we don't have any x equals 0 values in our table, so we're going to need to calculate it. So how do you go about in calculating that? That's a little bit trickier. So I have my y equals mx plus b formula, and the information that I can plug in is I know that the slope is negative 3. So I have these like other things that I don't know, like y, x, and b. So don't have my y-intercept, which I'm trying to find. Well, let's think about what is x and y. Well, if we look at x and y together, x and y are actually just a series of points. So I can plug in any point, x and y, and then the only thing that's left to find out is my b, so then I can just solve for b. So I'm going to pick, I don't want to pick a large number like this, or it's not a large, whatever, a large negative number. That's kind of a weird way to say that too. But I'm going to pick something that's smaller just so that the multiplication is a little bit easier. So once again, I'm going to plug in for my x is negative 1. So I'm plugging in the point negative 1, 4 into my x and y values. The y is 4 plus b, so I get 4 equals negative 3 times positive, negative 3 times negative 1 is positive 3 plus b. So I can see that my y-intercept is 1. So then I just substitute in my values. So once again, I know that my slope is negative 3, and my y-intercept that I just calculated is positive 1. So this is definitely a skill that needs a bit of practice, so I would recommend, do a couple now, in a day, do a couple more, and see that you have the long-term retention on it, because this part in particular can be